Hello and welcome to a very special edition of the Xbox Factor podcast. I'm your host, MrBooMStickXL, and on today's post-Xbox Game Showcase, I have the absolute privilege to have on the show someone I think most of the community knows, Xbox's Major Nelson, and he's here to talk about the big event and answer some questions that I think many in the community have been wanting to ask. Larry, thank you so much for being here.
Greg, first of all, let me tell you, big fan of your work, and thank you for having me. I know you've got a lot going on, and I appreciate giving me just a little slice of your show today. So thanks for having me on.
Oh, listen, thank you for being on, because obviously we know how difficult things have been for the world itself. But you know, to be here, I know I just heard you on Dealer Show, which you were fantastic.
Oh, thank you.
Great panel there, great show, and I really appreciate you taking the time to be here. So let's get into, of course, one of the first questions. Now, Major, you're going to be celebrating your 20th anniversary at Microsoft next year.
Yes,
and that's
right.
A big deal.
Yeah.
And in that 20 years, you had a chance to see some big and small decisions concerning Xbox. And with that said, though, you have been privy to the vision and the brand roadmap that Phil has taken the platform. How exciting is it to see all of that hard work from yourself, Matt Booty, Aaron Greenberg, and the incredibly talented people at Redmond coming to fruition on today's unbelievable show?
Yeah, I mean, you're right, Craig. It's been a journey, my journey of 20 years, almost 20 years at Microsoft, and I've seen stuff, much like you, I've seen stuff. And it is an honor to work with the next to the team Xbox every day and be able to talk about some of the great work. So I get to go out and talk about their work and certainly do some work, but they are the team that really puts the pedal to the metal and makes things happen and is so customer focused.
Yes.
You heard Phil say a few weeks ago, and he said it many times in the past, but we put players at the center. And that is something that everybody focuses on. What can we do to make the gaming experience better for you, the players?
It's funny you say that, because the article that he wrote last week on Xbox Wire, I read it multiple times and I talked about it on several of my shows. But what I found to be interesting, Larry, was how I felt like he was speaking to me. And that's something that Microsoft does very well, I might add, that they let the customer know that we are important.
Yeah, that's that. Thank you for pointing that out. And that's something that is, as a company that's been around since 1975, like Microsoft, it has grown to be, depending upon the time of the day and the day of the week, one of the most valued companies on the planet, is extraordinary. And having hundreds of thousands, we've got 140,000 full-time employees, not just on Xbox. I'm talking about all over Microsoft. Wow. And that's huge. And being able to have that emotional connection with gamers and yourself, and being able to feel like Phil or myself are talking directly to you, that's a tough skill, and that's something tough to do, is say, hey, we care about what people think and what they do, and we just want to make the world a better place for gamers, via gaming.
And you know what? I think you guys are doing a great job at doing that. You know what? Let's move on to the next question, Larry. You are widely known as an Xbox ambassador and and considered by many, including myself, to be an Xbox community icon.
Thank you.
But you know what? It's your positive fan interaction that has been well documented over your history of being with Xbox. What is one of your most fondest Xbox moments that kind of just stand out for you?
There's so many. One of them is, there's so many. And unfortunately, we didn't get to have the E3 this year. But being able to go to E3 and talk to gamers who say to me, "Hey, I remember watching you on my Xbox 360 when I was 10 years old, and now I'm 20 or 25 or 30, and I have a family and my little kids watch you." I mean, that to me, makes me feel old. But no, I love the fact that it carries on in families. So that's always special. I love going out and meeting people, and not having E3 this year was for obvious reasons, was tough for us. But that was really tough because we don't get to see people. So that's why I turned to things like Twitter, or even going to, I had the chance recently to go talk to my high school. I grew up in Connecticut, out near you. And I talked to my high school, and being able to talk to some kids whose parents I went to school with, and saying that,
Wow.
hey,
That's
hey,
awesome.
we love what you do. Is that, to me, is amazing. And but it doesn't matter, wherever I go in the world, and having people say, oh, I love Xbox, or I love this game, or I love that moment, it makes me feel really special that I get to represent and just be one little part of this huge global brand.
You know, it's funny you say that, because it just seems that gaming transcends multiple generations.
Absolutely, yeah.
You know, and I love that about. I mean, take it for instance, me. I'm going to be 50 in September, and I've been gaming since 1978.
Sure.
And I have the same love and passion for gaming that I did when I was a kid, even though I'm a grown man and adult who's now retired.
Right.
And I think that that is something that it's one of the highlights I thought of today's show, because they offered something for everyone.
Yeah.
It didn't matter whether you were a first-person shooter, whether you liked racing games. It was a very well played look into the future of Xbox, and I think you guys knocked it out of the park. But you know what? In saying so, one of the words being thrown around in both social media and in the circles that I run in is the word redemption. And you know, there is one particular point that I want to harken back to, is the 2019 Game Awards. Now, the reveal of the Series X and Hellblade 2: Senua's Saga completely shocked the world. Were you there at that event? And did the excitement from the community that you've known for so long, was there a sense of both pride and joy?
Well, I'll tell you this, is you and I'll answer your question in a second, but you brought up something really important, and that's the fact that with Xbox, with what we've shown, we have the most creatively diverse lineup of games in our history. I mean, for the first time, we're gonna launch a console with Halo. We haven't done that since 2001, correct? So
Yes, sir.
That's huge. So to your point about everything else, I'm sorry, I've totally forgot, because I'm thinking about all of the stuff that we talked about today. Is, you know, we've got so much that we've shown with the 10 world premieres and everything else. So it was a huge day for me. So I'm sorry, as you were saying, what was your question? Let's get back to the question.
Well, you know, the question, I mean, because we always get lost in our thoughts as well. Yeah. The Series X and Hellblade reveal shocked the world. Were you on the floor when you guys did that? And how much pride and joy did you get from seeing the unbelievable reaction from the fan base?
Well, I'll tell you this, Craig, and I don't think I've ever told this before. Maybe I have, but this is something I don't tell a lot of people, because I just haven't had a chance. Is I was in the audience at the 2019 Game Awards. I was sitting next to Fergus, who's in charge, who's head of one of our studios, and Obsidian, and I was sitting there, and when we started playing the trailer, the reveal trailer for Xbox Series X, this is as God's honest truth, I had not seen it. I had not seen it until that point with everybody else, because it had gone through a couple of iterations and people were still working on it, and it was down to the wire. And the last thing I want to do is, when the teams are working on shipping products, I don't want to go sniffing around, go, hey, can you show it to me? Because I know it's not done. And they're trying to ship. They couldn't move the Game Awards, and they wanted to show it at the Game Awards. So I stayed out of the way. So the moment that you saw it during the Game Awards is the exact moment that I saw it as well. So it was very special to sit there, because I knew when I kind of sensed, okay, this is going to be it here, because it was you know, I can kind of sense that it was happening and what was going to happen. So I knew that it was happening, so I could feel it in the room, like, what is this? What is this? And then it come through a tidal wave of, this is the new console. It just kind of riveted through the room, and of course around the world at that point.
Yeah, it was shocking, because no one anticipated a console reveal at the Game Awards, let alone seeing Senua's Saga on there.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, it completely took the world by storm. But you know what? Let's bring it back to what's happened today, because listen, with the pre-show and of course what they showed between both, guys had almost 30 games shown.
Yeah.
And what was interesting is when Phil came out and he told the world that everything you're going to see in this hour is on Game Pass. The value proposition that Microsoft offers their customers compared to the quality of games that we saw in this reveal is unlike anything in gaming. How impressive is this to Microsoft to know that every game that they showed is in Game Pass?
Well, here's what impresses me. You know, we saw Sarah Bond, who's kind of works with a lot of our business partners.
Yes,
she was on stage. Her team is extraordinary. They were able to, the fact that they're able to continue to do it. They're able to close these deals and get games into Game Pass. I mean, Game Pass it's a hit. Runaway hit. There's no.
Yeah, it certainly is.
Find somebody out there who tells you it's not worth it, and you'll find somebody who's living under a rock. They're just not aware of it. But you're right. It's very powerful to say every single game that you're seeing today is coming to Game Pass or it's free to play is unbelievable.
Yeah.
I mean, so it's like, hey, you know, that Halo game, maybe if you're not a Halo fan, maybe there's some folks out there that are not Halo fans. They're going to,
it happens.
Yeah, exactly. I'll check it out. And that's this is what's really important. The combination of Game Pass and that we have the strongest and most creatively diverse lineup of games in our history. That is impressive. I mean, we're not just platformers or third person action adventure games. We've got those. But we also have racing games and we have classic games. We have Tetris. We have, hey, Craig, can we talk about the Back Compat program?
Yes.
Boom. I mean, that too. So there's so much value here on the Xbox side. Oh, by the way, in Game Pass Ultimate, guess what? You're also going to be able to play your games from the cloud.
Yes.
So, I mean, it just goes on, right?
And again, it's one of those values. You know, you guys have said it. I'm sure in private circles that you want to be the Netflix of gaming.
Sure.
And I think that with everything that you have offered, including now Project xCloud being put in there for the price of nothing, it has really put an exclamation point on what Microsoft wants to do for the future. But this is where we get into the fun part of the topic. You know, obviously there were a lot of games shown, and for me anyway, the highlight is, you know, the cheapy answer is Halo Infinite. It just completely blew my mind. And there's so many. My question to you is, because of course I'm interviewing you, what was your favorite game of today's show? I know I'm putting you on the spot with that one.
That's hard to say. I mean, when I look at what we saw and the fact we've got Avowed coming from Obsidian Entertainment,
looks amazing.
Right? That and I hadn't seen that before. I was, you know, so that's what I'm looking forward to. You know, Halo, of course. I mean, as an Xbox fan, that's something I'm looking forward to. I mean, so it's really, Craig, it's really hard for me to pick one game, and that's again the beauty of Game Pass. I don't have to pick a game. I can play them all.
Yep. What you know what it does? It just makes our backlogs even more gross because we all have them. And
wait a minute. You have no excuse. You're retired. You can play games all day long.
Yeah, you know what? Running 3 shows a week is not easy. The production really
retired, right?
Yeah, I know. So cool, retired. But you know what? I do have a last question, because I know we only have for a few more minutes, and of course I want to thank you for being here.
My pleasure.
You know, obviously one of the interesting points of the show was with Matt Booty.
Yeah,
and he closed out the show, and of course he did it the right way with the one more thing, and that was Fable. And everyone kind of knew, but the people that didn't know really wanted it. As a matter of fact, I have 2 questions, and I'm going to lead with the Fable first. How big of a deal do you think it was to close out with Fable?
Well, you know, it's one of those tough things. It's like, how do you close a show out? How do you do the one more thing? And this was, you know, we what you saw today and for the Xbox Game Showcase were games that were in various stages of development. And it was kind of we wanted to do something, you know, we're in the fun industry. Games are fun. And this was just the one more thing. We want to, hey, you know what? Fable's coming. Here's something you can, another thing you can look forward to, and another thing in Game Pass.
Yeah, and you know what? The trailer, I know a lot of people complain about, well, it was a CG trailer. But, you know, we were talking prior to going live, and I kind of want to just iterate on that. The one thing I thought that Playground Games did magnificent in this. I don't know, was it maybe 2 minutes long, maybe 3 minutes at best. They made it look wondrous. They made it look very, like with unbelievable graphics, and we know we're going to get an incredible story. But what seemed to still remain from old fables of past was the levity of it.
Yeah. Well, yeah. There's something of magical and just charming about that British humor, right? We get that out of our Rare studio. We get that out of, well, now we're going to see some more out of our friends at Playground. So that's just charming is the only way I can describe it.
Yes, and charming it was. And of course, we cannot wait to see more. Now the last question I have for you, and I don't know, I'm not sure exactly what you can say, but bringing back Matt Booty into the conversation, he mentioned that many of the Xbox game studios who weren't there, that you guys would be showing what those games are and what they've been working on, and he used the word soon. Yeah. Now, is that something that we're going to see potentially this year? Is there any other shows or anything happening at the remainder of the year? Because obviously we know that the launch is coming. We know that at some point you guys are going to talk about when we could pre-order, because that's the biggest question. Everyone is really worried about getting their pre-orders in. And of course the launch date. These are like really points of contention with the Xbox community. Can you touch on anything? Maybe give us an inkling and when some of this stuff could happen.
Craig, I wish I could. I don't have anything to announce today, but I can tell you that we're working really hard to figure out what the next right moment is. Okay. When the studios are ready to talk and we've got a nice portfolio, then we're going to do it. We're feeling real confident about our console. We're feeling real confident about what we showed at the Xbox Game Showcase. And as you heard from Matt, we do have more to show. Got a lot more to show. Yes. We're just not ready to tell you when yet. So I promise you will be one of the first to know.
Well, I definitely appreciate it. I mean, this has been amazing. I've always wanted to work with Microsoft in some facet. The fact that you actually know my work is tremendously humbling, to be honest with you, Larry.
Well, I have to tell you, Craig, I remember, I'm pretty sure we met when you were at a fan fest one year. I know that you've chatted with Chris Munson a couple times.
Yes.
So I'm very familiar with that work. And, it's just so great to have you. My biggest regret is that we don't have another fan fest at E3 this year because there's no E3. So you and I can't hang out. But I'm very much looking forward to, if you'll have me, if I can come back on your show and talk about more stuff.
Listen, Larry, you have a golden ticket, and the fact that you've said that live on the air is going to make me a superstar with the community. So thank you so much for that. I really appreciate it. The
only thing I'm going to ask is I'd like to come on the show again.
Yes.
And B, the next time, whenever that is, next year, 5 years from now, when I come to New York, we need to go out for some slices. That's all I'm going to say.
You know what? I got one better for you. I make actually fantastic pizza. I put it on. Yes, I make it from scratch, and I'm actually quite the pizza chef, Larry.
Now, are you putting it in a pizza oven? Because this is one of my passions.
I use the regular boring oven. Unfortunately, I don't have the pizza oven. But yes, it would be great to have you on, and of course, and I can always reach out, or you can reach out to me on DM, or obviously through email. Yeah. Larry, this has been an amazing day for so many reasons and so many levels. We got a chance to see the future of Xbox. We know it's the most powerful console. It's the best services across the board. And now we're getting the best games. And I think Microsoft has really crossed off all of the doubts that anyone should have about the brand. And now to finish it up, basically the cherry on top of the sundae is having you on my little show. It's amazing. So thank you so much for being here, Larry. I really appreciate it.
Well, Craig, I thank you very much. You're very kind. And on behalf of everyone at Xbox, I want to say thank you for all the work you put into the Xbox Factor. We've got a lot of fans here at Xbox. So keep up the great work, and I'll see you again soon.
Thank you so much, Larry. All right, everyone. Well, listen, that's been the big interview that I told everyone about. And Larry, thank you so much for being here once again. And we'll see you tonight later. We're doing a post show on my channel. All you got to do is tune in at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And Larry, thank you so much again.
Thank you.